If you're a student of Tai Chi, chances are you will learn, if you don't already know how to use the Tai Chi fan. Fans are not only abundantly available, but are easy to transport and can act as a tool of self-defense in a pinch. When it comes to Tai Chi technique, the fan is much easier to learn than the sword or the spear because it doesn't require an entire new set of fundamentals just to learn how to use the weapon, and the fan can be used to perform many of the empty hand movements with little to no modification. So the big question here is, which fan is the best for your Tai Chi training? Well, in this video, we're going to take a look at some of the most common fans available, and I'll talk about the different attributes of each so you can figure out what's the best fan for your goal in training. And I'll even make my own recommendation at the end of the video based off of my experience in training Tai Chi, as well as teaching a wide variety of students with a range of skills and abilities. So let's get to it. So let's start with fan size. Now, most fans are either available in 13 inches or 15 inches. And although that doesn't give much of an opportunity for customization as, say, the Jin or the Saber, it does keep it pretty simple, and honestly, that's pretty much right where you want to be. Personally, I suggest you go with the 13-inch or the 33-centimeter size fan. And if you do want to go any bigger, do not go past the 15-inch size, as it will make the movements awkward and cumbersome. You also don't want to go shorter with a souvenir fan because it's not going to have the same presence and it's not going to have the same effect on your training as a regular 13-inch fan. Tai Chi fans are typically offered in 4 different types of the ribbing material. So this usually has a direct effect on the price. So what we'll do is we'll start with the most cost-effective tier in material, and we'll work our way all the way up to the more expensive and deluxe versions that you can find for the fan. Starting with plastic fans, which will be the cheapest material that you can find. I've actually found a plastic fan for as little as $2, and even with such a cheap price, the quality is actually quite good and consistently good. You'll find that the material is more flexible than any other type of fan material, and the weight is actually quite light. Now, the one thing I would watch out for with plastic fans is the fastening system. So usually what's holding all of the ribbing material together is some type of rivet or bolt, and this should be metal. If you find one with plastic to bind the fan together, avoid it at all costs because it's going to break fast. In my experience, plastic fans are very durable, but they do have a short lifespan. Part of what contributes to that is the glue that attaches the fabric to the ribbing. It often becomes dry and it doesn't adhere as well to the plastic, so it can completely detach from the ribbing. You also have the plastic tends to get a little bit more brittle over time, so the longer you have the fan, the more of a chance it's going to fail. So they do tend to have a shorter lifespan than any of the other materials that you can get for a fan. Next up is bamboo. Now, this is probably the most traditional that you can get when it comes to fans, and I find them to be both lightweight and very durable. Although I would consider bamboo fans to be the mid-range tier as far as cost is concerned, they're really not that expensive at about $15 a pop. Bamboo fans also have the most variety from the color of the ribbing material as well as the color and the designs on the fabric. And one of the things you'll find with bamboo fans is they actually have 2 different types of fastening systems, either a rivet or a small bolt with a nut. And they both have benefits and drawbacks. For the bolt, it's quite nice to have something where you can adjust how tight the fan is, but you will find that it can have sharper and more angled edges, which can scratch or poke when you're using the fan. And also the little nut can often get a little bit more loose and active the longer you have the fan, but you can always adjust it and tighten it up between training sessions. As far as rivets go, they are much more rounded on the sides, so you're not going to get that same kind of poke or scratch that you would get from the nut, but they won't be able to adjust. And this is something that leads into another issue that you may end up dealing with the longer you have the fan. You see, over time, the more you open and close the fan, the little holes in the ribbing that you pass the rivet or the bolt through are going to wear out from friction, creating bigger holes and making it much easier and more loose to open and close the fan. This happens the same with plastic fans as well. It's something you can't avoid, and it's just something to expect to deal with as you get down the road. And of course, when it comes to the bamboo fan, this is not going to happen overnight. This is going to be over the course of years, depending on how often you use your fan. The next fan we'll look at are steel fans, which tend to run slim when it comes to design and fabric color. Now, in terms of cost, they are much more expensive than plastic or bamboo fans, running from $30 to $40. They're also made of much heavier material, which may seem like a good idea for self-defense, but you'll find that metal fans won't be allowed in certain places that you can get plastic or bamboo fans in, so it gives you a limited range of where you can actually use it for self-defense. Now, I should also mention that the weight makes a huge difference when you're practicing with the open fan in particular, because when we hold the open fan, we have our fingers extended and the thumb out, and the only way that we can control it is through sandwiching it between the thumb and underneath the index fingers. So it puts the hand in quite an awkward position that doesn't really have a substantial grip, as well as not much of a natural grip. So really, when the fan is completely closed, this is where you have a much more comfortable grip and you can deliver a pretty substantial strike. However, even though it is a stronger material, metal fans often fail more than plastic or bamboo fans, especially when it comes to open fan impact. You see, when it comes to bamboo or plastic, the ribbing material, if struck, will bend and return back to its straightened position. This is something you won't find with metal. Even though it's more durable, when it bends, it does not return back to that position and will maintain its crooked position. Now, obviously, at some point, you're going to bend it so much that the bamboo or the plastic will break. But at that same amount of pressure, you're going to find that the metal itself will, again, just hold that position. And even if you bend it back, it's not going to be perfect enough, and you're always going to catch the fan. Whether you close it or open it, it's always going to get stuck from that point on. Now, there's an actually very high-end fan that will run from $1,000 to $8,000. There's a company that makes titanium fans with high-grade precision material. With a price tag like that, you should be very confident that the handling and engineering of the fan is top quality. Unfortunately, I really can't say anything else other than that because I have not had a chance to handle one. Although I am totally open, if the company ever feels like they want to send me a sample for review, just let me know. I'm here for you. Now, there is one last thing I do want to mention that you want to take into consideration when looking for a Taiji fan, and that is a left-handed fan. That's right. Now, most fans are typically sold as right-handed fans, and if they don't mention it, it's probably a right-handed fan, which means that the opening of the fan is quite natural if held in your right hand. You loosen up the fingers and you hold this last tine with your index finger and thumb, and it just drops open. Now, if I try to open it up in my left hand that same way by letting the fingers go, it doesn't open. It gets stuck halfway. So you actually either have to flick it open with the thumb side, or you can get a left-handed fan. Now, why would you want a left-handed fan? Well, it's simple. If you're doing a double fan form and you want to have a very natural way of opening and closing the fans without having to modify your grip, that's one thing. As well as if you're just looking for your own training and you want to have something that's more comfortable instead of having to figure out how to open the fan in a much different and more uncomfortable way, then that's definitely the way to go. Left-handers are not the most common when you go in person to a martial arts supply store, but it doesn't take much work to find them online to find the exact one that you want. You just have to make sure that you check when you're ordering if the left-handed option is available. So now for my own personal recommendation, I would say go with a bamboo fan. Now, plastic fans can be cheap, they can be easy to pick up, but they do tend to wear out and break too fast. So you're really not going to get the bang for your buck that you're looking for. As well as steel fans tend to be too heavy during training. So instead of being able to focus on what the movement is and follow your Taiji principles, you're trying to focus on holding that fan up, and you may be sacrificing correct positions just to keep the fan up in position. So I don't think they're the best, especially at the price tag. You're definitely overspending on something that's not going to give you much more benefit than something like a bamboo fan. And as far as self-defense goes, I think the bamboo fan is still better than the metal fan because you can take this into places where you cannot bring a metal fan, and the amount of weight and the amount of power that you're going to gain from striking with a metal fan is not going to be enough to warrant all of the trouble that you have to go through to get that. So I hope this helps you in choosing a fan. You definitely know where I lean towards, and of course this comes from my experience in training and having many students over the years. Everybody who's had a bamboo fan has been happy with it and it's lasted with them a long time. Lastly, I will leave links to where you can pick up fans online. I'll leave all the links down in the description box down below, including plastic fans, bamboo fans, steel fans, and that very high-end luxury titanium fan. Let me know what you think of this video, as well as any advice that you would give to anybody who's going to pick up a fan from your own experience. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.